Anybody that's studying, one thing you got to get familiar with is terminology. Islam in English, that joint is played out. That joint went out in the early 2000s. If you really want to know and you want people to stop manipulating you, you're going to have to learn some level of Arabic. Even if now, like we're doing in the beginning, I'm using phonetics right now. Learn your phonetic translation and learn your definitions. If you don't learn your definitions, people will manipulate you. I'm telling you. They'll play you. They'll use words on you. They'll flim-flam you because that's the way. What was the term? I forgot what the term was. One of my teachers taught me. Like basically, it's like how they use the whipping stick, right? You may be right in articulating the thing properly, but however, you may not have the Arabic terminology, and so then they'll do things like ya'ni, uskut ya'ni, right? And they'll be like, dang, you know Arabic, all right. And then it's almost like a thing to put you back in place, let you know like, oh, you don't know Arabic, but then they don't know the sciences and the terminology that's correct. There's many mistakes that's being made with them using Arabic terminology. Like, I'll give you an example. All right? Let's use this word here, sunnah. Everybody's familiar with this word sunnah, right? Everybody's familiar with the word sunnah. When you hear this word sunnah, what's some of the definitions you heard with the word sunnah? Some of the definitions. What's some of the definitions that you got from the word sunnah? Huh?
The way of the prophet.
The way of the prophet, right? Okay. What else? What else? Because usually, sometimes the word sunnah is used interchangeably depending on what the science is that you're studying. It's used interchangeably. It's not used the same way throughout the entire time. Like in fiqh, right? Most people, this was where this word was used improperly. Okay? The word in fiqh, the word sunnah. Here, let me transliterate it for you. I'm gonna end up erasing this anyway. So, sunnah in fiqh, in the science of fiqh, right? Most people understand this as what? Non-obligatory, right? Just in the science of fiqh in itself, right? In the science, so, but however, within the Maliki school, depends on when you're using it, what sunnah in this case is representing. Not only is it the way the Prophet says something, but what else is it representing is that the evidences, right? The evidence of the thing isn't as strong as a wajib evidence. That's all it means. And each time you use the word sunnah, it comes with its own ruling, right? But a lot of people always use this as non-obligatory. And so they develop a whole movement behind non-obligatory. They said what? Oh, it ain't an obligation. I ain't got to do it. How you think we went from the era of the masjids was packed and everybody went to not praying in the masjid no more? They said it ain't obligatory, right? That's any old heads been around. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It ain't obligatory. We ain't got to play in the masjid all the time, right? So it took. So what did it do? It reduced that action. That's not sunnah. Sunnah is not to take away from the sunnah. It's not used to undermine the sunnah. And a lot of our behaviors today is that because they use this in this manner as non-obligatory, people also say, I don't follow hadiths, I just follow the Quran. Right? All of this came from this. So if you don't know your terminology, and especially according to the science that you're studying, this is why I'm saying that terminology is important. I don't care if you don't know how to read these characters in Arabic, you better write it out the best way it sounds and know what you're talking about. Understanding is better than just gaining a whole bunch of ijaz and claiming yourself and connecting yourself to this university or that person or this. We're all about understanding, about fahem. You have to understand. Once you know better, you do better. You remember that? You know that saying? You know better, you do better. So people will use this terminology. When you use the word sunnah in aqidah, it means what? It's also the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the opposite of sunnah is what? Bid'ah. Right? bid'ah. All right. So innovation. It's different. It's used differently in verses in fiqh, right? In fiqh, somebody that has a belief that's contrary to the Prophet ﷺ is known as bid'ah. It's known as innovation. In fiqh and behavior mu'amilat, it means that it's not an action from the behavior of the Prophet ﷺ, or it doesn't necessarily always mean that. That's when you get some of the Usool'd terminology, right? I believe Saul was teaching that a couple weeks ago. That's what I was on there. Where you're using wajib, right? Wajib. Right? Mustahab. Right? Mubah. I don't remember how you spell mubah. Mubah. I don't know what this is. I believe so. This might be wrong. I might be spelling it wrong, so. Trying to move as fast as possible for the sake of time, because I actually want to finish the text. So mubah, right? Then you have what? What else? Where's Saudi students at? Right? Well, I'm overlapping. I got all this stuff. Was anybody writing down the notes? If not, I'm just gonna erase it.
It just ends in a ha.
Mubah or makruh?
Mubah.
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 Alright. See? Got the secret shake over here. He be trying not to take his credit. His right
after the bit.
Okay. Yeah. See? There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Alhamdulillah. Right. We have makruh, right? Yeah, makruh. Right. And then you have haram. Nope, wrong one. It's a pyramid. Okay? All right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 5, right? Yeah, wajib, 2, 3. Ah, that's what I did. It's 4 over here. 4, all right? And 5. And according to Imam Juwaini, you got 7. Sahih, right? And then you have Batil. Right? Sahih. Each of these categories are used. These 5 are more commonly used. Imam Juwaini has 7. Right? These things are more commonly used. These 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wajib, something that is mandatory, obligatory. If you leave it, it's a sin. If you do it, you receive reward. Mustahab, right? Also known as mandub, also known as AKA sunnah. If you do the action, you receive reward for it. If you leave it, there's no punishment bearing on you, right? Mubah, it's permissible either way. Makruh, these last 2, these are a form of prohibition. Most of us American Muslims, when we use something that's makruh, we take it, make makruh on the level of mubah or mustahab, right? And makruh, it also varies according to your madhab, right? So Makruh is something that's detestable, right? All these are in relation to sunnah as well. All five of these are in relation to sunnah. How? Wajib sunnah, you got sunnah mu'akkidah, right? You have certain actions that are to the level that if you leave it, it will make an action, it'll make the action invalid, like pertaining to salah. But anyway, so you have wajib, you have a mandatory, you have recommended, you have mubah. If you do the action, there's no reward in it, there's no punishment, right? That's something as simple like a microphone, right? It's mubah. There's no real benefit in it. Something that is makruh, if you leave the action, you'll receive reward. If you do it, it's no barren sin upon you, but people will object to you. That's the other thing most people don't mention about makruh. Somebody will object to you. Like, for instance, well, maybe in America you probably won't have that problem. If everybody came in here blasting music, right? Those religious people will be like, A'udhu billah. Right? You're like, man, it's only makruh. A'udhu billah, right? They'll probably run you out the masjid. Unless, you would come from one of them communities, you got line dancing going on and you getting down doing your thing, right? They'd be like, it's only makruh. Yeah, okay, I'll be like, mashallah, I already know what type of person I'm dealing with, right? Despite its daily usage or practice, it doesn't change the rule for it, right? And I only mention music, and I ain't get into it because that's all one of them controversial topics, but at minimum, music is makruh. And you got haram, those things that are absolutely haram. If you do it, it's a sin. If you leave it, you receive reward. So usually, sometimes when you're dealing with this, when you're dealing with sunnah, right? Like Shehu Uthman and Fodiyo, he has a book called Ihya Sunnah wa Ikmal al-Bid'ah, right? Revival of the sunnah and destruction of the innovation. A lot of people haven't written a book like this. Matter of fact, this book was inspired by another Maliki scholar by the name of Ibn al-Hajj, and he wrote one in his it's called Medkhan, right? However, the difference between that text and this text, the Shehu, he uses all of the hadith pertaining to the actions. I think it's written in what is that, Muhammad? 33 chapters?
Yeah, 34 chapters.
34 chapters. And it goes from Aqidah, it deals with Mu'amilat, meaning fiqh and buying and selling and all those things. And it even has a section in there on tasawwuf, right? But it's also a manual of tajdeed, right? Because there's a historical connection with the books that we have the permission to teach. Whenever the Jamaat of the Shehu, when they would establish a land or conquer a land, not only would they establish Deen there, but they would also leave a copy of the Ihya Sunnah. Because the Shehu, his thing wasn't about establishing Islamic sovereignty, it was about establishing the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was more so, like, people would think he was like obsessed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Everything had to be about that. But not only was he Maliki, but he also connected the books of Bukhari and Muslim to the Maliki fiqh, right? It wasn't just, wasn't that people didn't treat it how they treat it today, like, oh, that's just Bukhari, that's just Muslim, because, a lot of people don't, or you guys do have some people that try to implement the fiqh from Bukhari and Muslim and start misimplementing or mispracticing certain things, and we have a lot of problems today. So anyway, so to get all that, I wrote all this because it's connected to the word sunnah. All right, Sahih and Batil, that comes from an Usool'd fiqh class. So I'm gonna erase all this. We're gonna go back to this here, right? Go back to this right here. All right, so you have the word usul, right? This is another word that you use interchangeably. It's going to be used interchangeably. But overall, it's the foundation, okay? Some of the things that fall into usul, we're talking about iman, okay? Your belief. All is the foundation. This comes from the Hadith of Jibril, when he asked, what is iman? What was the reply? That you do tu'minu, that you believe in? First, Allah. The second, tu'minu billahi wa malaika. Angels. What's the third? Books. Fourth. Messengers. Now, I want to show you something. Right? We just two more. We're going to get to the other two. We're talking about Usool'd, Iman. First and foremost, what? Allah.
Yeah.
Malaika. Think about how revelation came. Kutub, the books. To who? The messengers. Right? If you were talking about just the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran. Okay? The Quran is from Allah. Right? Chain of command. Allah revealed it to which angel? Jibril. What book is it? Of course, we're talking about what? The Quran. And who is the messenger? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at how that goes, right? Wa tu'minu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rasulihi. What's next?
Prophet?
We said the prophets already, messengers.
Oh, yeah.
What's the fifth one? Not in that order.
Not in that order.
What's the next one?
Last
The
day.
real.
Huh?
But
after death.
After death, right. Yom al-Akhir. Afterlife. That's what we put. Afterlife. Right? What does all this has to do with? Paradise. Right? Hellfire. The Sirat, the bridge. What else? The Sirat, what else? I mentioned one of them today in the khutbah. The scale, wasn't an amal. The scale. I mentioned another one today in the khutbah. What else? Did we talk about somebody stepping in for us? Shifat, intercession. And we can keep going on, but I want to get back to the text. But I point these things out because this is all our foundation. This is Usool'd, right? And when you start talking about Usool'd, you start seeing words like Aqidah, Tawheed, right? You see these type of words. That this is what it's all referring to. Alright? This is what it's all referring to. Anything else is not considered Usool'd Deen. This is what it's called the Usool. And you put this over here in Arabic. Oops. Usool'd Deen. Right? Usool'd Deen. Okay? This is the foundations of our deen. All six of these pillars. Okay? So the first branch of it is Usool'd Deen. Alright? Now I'm going to erase all this.
Real quick. Do you find any different in that, in the Usool?
Nope.
So across the board,
Across the
everybody.
board. Ijma'. Maybe the way, now when you're talking about authors who author books, maybe the way that they word it, I'll say. Because what you get, you get some will mention that there's 13 attributes, and then some will say 20. Alright? Then they'll mention all of the attributes, and then they'll give the opposites of those as well. Some of them they break it up, but it's still the same thing all the way across the board. I think Qadi Iyad's is I actually like his. He's called like 40 points. It's his book that he has. I forgot the name of the Arabic book. But anyway, they got it in English too. Foundations of Islam.
So where do the terminologies of the Rububiyyah and all of these, where do these fall into?
Oh, that falls from Ahmed ibn Taymiyyah. he took the line out of Imam Tahawi's book, right? This is why I don't have nothing against Tahawi's creed, but it's just used as the popular book, and it's almost kind of like stable, like the best book of Aqeedah after the Quran, if you get where I'm coming from. Okay. So I kind of like break up the monotony, and I just kind of like stick with the books of the Shehu, or stick with the other fuqaha. Like you have Jawhar al-Tawheed, right? Maliki scholar, Ibrahim al-Lakhani. Nobody uses it. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Nobody in America uses it. Everybody refers to Tahawi. And a lot of times, especially with Tahawi, because it's so popular, but a lot of the Wahhabi doctrine or Salafi doctrine, they make their own qiyas from that, right? They make their own analogy. And because he mentions in there, I think it's like 0.56, I don't remember. I haven't reviewed that in a long time. But he mentions about Allah's rububiyyah, his lordship over creation. Now Ibn Taymiyyah, when he made two other categories with it. He made uluhiyyah, right? And then he made asma wa sifat. Then he also has another issue is that is kind of like a branch off of uluhiyyah. They start dealing with the uluwa, and this is where they get into where they start talking about Allah has a place. That's where it all derives from. Now, or you also have, which is synonymous to a Tawheed and Ibadah, right? That's where they get into the whole issue of tawassul and everything like that. So, yeah, that's a whole nother discussion in itself. So, Usool'd, all these six, well, I didn't mention the sixth one. The sixth one is Qadr, right? The Qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good of it and the bad. One of the most earlier controversies in Aqeedah came from the group of Qadariyah. It was one of the earlier controversies where they say Allah is in control of all good, but we control the bad. Now we'll be that. So, but we know that Allah Ta'ala is in control of everything, kulli shay'in, right? And you know, it's almost kind of Christian-like, because you know, the God is control of the good, and the devil is control of evil, right? Matter of fact, I remember I used to go to church when I was a kid. So they used to do this. You got good right there, God, right? And then they would put the word devil, right? And they take away the D, it's evil, right? I remember that stuff when I was a little young buck. But anyway, so you know that was their way of explaining Qadr. That was their way of explaining Qadr. And you had some Muslims that came about that said that, you know, Allah Ta'ala is in control of the good, and we, you know, we create the evil, right? Now, just in summary, I only put the word Qadr here, but the Prophet ﷺ said in that hadith, "Tu'minu bil qadri wa khayrihi wa sharrihi," right? To believe in Qadr is good and it's bad. This is where it's a clear sign where Muslims are extremely weak, especially in our time, because of the background we're coming from. Was Qadr khayrihi is good, was sharrihi. When it gets bad, we start thinking, yo, you can go rob a bank. When it gets bad, you know, I can just do this. I can just do anything when it's bad. Fair game. Emotion kicking. Right? We mentioned it in the khutbah today. The emotion or supersedes and takes over the intellect, and it shuts down. This is where they do things, you know. And Shaitan, his waswas, his whisper, he's whispering to you. Your nafs is low. You're at a low point when you're having problems, right? So anything sounds good to you now. You know, if your wife mad at you, she ain't as obedient. Usually you be like, babe, I need my soup. You only had to say it once. Now you gotta say it 5 times because she's angry with you, right? That's for the waswas of Shaitan, you know, because everything that we do that's good, or anything that's an act of ibadah, it all results into what? Let's go back to it. The scale, right? The weighing of actions. The sirat. You'll be able to cross that bridge easy. Then get over the hellfire and get into paradise. See, all of our actions is connected to that. So your entire life as a Muslim is all about Usool'd. All right? That's Usool'd. The 6 pillars. That's Usool'd. We're going to go into... I'm going to erase this now. Boom. I'm going to erase this. Does everybody understand what's going on? Did I lose anybody yet? I hope not.
So just to be clear, when it comes to like the titles of Usool'd, Deen, and all these subjects, these are things that were later categorized to make Islam easy for us to understand. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. So you're not gonna look for a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says Usool'd Deen.
No.
Right?
No. No, not at all. And its foundations, all of this that I'm mentioning comes from that one hadith. That's why it's called Sunnah. It's the mother of the Sunnah. And it's also one of the hadiths that are Mutaakhir. It's one of the latter hadiths just before the demise, the death of the Prophet. Right? Also, another thing about the hadith of Jibril is Mutawatir, meaning that denying it is kufr. It'll take you outside of Islam. So you got Usool'd Deen. This is our foundation. Okay? Or AKA Usul.
Before you keep going, can you explain
Mutawatir hadith. It's a narration. It is a narration that's been narrated by so many people that it's impossible for it to be a lie. Okay? Because in hadith, and we need a hadith science, but I ain't gonna teach you. Y'all got even on me. I learned from him. So, you know, he's the one that paved the way for me. I learned from others, but he opened that door for me. So, you know. Anyway, you have most people are familiar. You familiar with? I'm gonna stop right there. All right, I'm gonna stop right there.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Go ahead.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
All right, but this one I'm on. You got Sahih. Everybody's familiar with that, right? Everybody heard of Sahih, right? And then you have Da'if over here. Right? Oops. I just said I wasn't gonna write Arabic. Yeah, let me do it, guys, because he wanted to keep going. Da'if, right? So in Sahih, you have categories. First category, of course, this is Sahih. You have different types of Sahih, from the highest to the lowest. Mutawatir. Alright? This is the highest form of a Sahih Hadith, where it has 4 or more. 4 we use as the minimum, because there's no set number. But what there is a set number is for the next couple of categories, which is Mustafid, right? Which is 3 or more. What's the other word that they use for that? Say it again.
No, it's not Vayurihi, right?
No.
It's,
what's the other word? Mashhur. Mashhur. Right? Mashhur, which is the same. It's the same, meaning that it's 3 or more, narrators, but it's not as strong as Mutawatir. Okay? That's good. We're going into this, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is used for Usool'd Deen. Okay? This isn't used in the same manner for Usool'd Deen. This is usually used for like Kalam. Okay, this is used for the second, but Mutawatir is used for Usool'd Deen, right? Shehu and Fodiyo is a book that I'm gonna begin teaching soon. In there, it gives all of the hadiths, all of the ayats of the Quran for Usool'd Deen, and it also gives all of the Tawatir hadith for Usool'd Deen, right? And I think it's over 40 something hadiths. But anyway, these are used for that. Then you have the second one, which is what's the two? Mutawatir, Mashhur, Hasan is another category by itself. It's two narrate. Ahad is
the last one.
Well, all of these, anything from under Mutawatir falls in other Ahad, Khabar Ahad. That's also the other thing. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I didn't want to get too deep into it, but I'm trying to remember now the 2 narrators. I got me like really stuck right now. The 4th one is Gharib.
Yeah, Gharib.
Alright, that's one narrator. The second one, good night. I can't remember what the second one is. That's bad because I just finished the Mustalah Hadith class. Second one, we're going to leave blank. If I remember, I'll come back to it. Or if somebody figures it out, you know, we'll put that in. Alright, boom. So, let's get back to Usul. Alright? So, Usool'd Deen. Usually the hadiths, when you're talking about proofs, also, that's another thing I'm going to go into after this. So, Usool'd Deen, that's the foundation. Alright? These two right here, Islam and Ihsan. This is known as the Furu'. Alright? I know y'all wasn't expecting this, was y'all? Y'all was expecting a lecture. I think teaching is my passion. Right? Furu', which are the branches. These branches are derived from this. These are the sciences that are secondary. This is the primary science, Usool'd Deen, your Islamic belief. So now what you have is Furu', right? What they call Zahir. Okay? Zahir, which means outward. Now think it is. Everything with Islam is outward. The Shahada, it's outward, right? It's an outward manifestation. There's usually witnesses involved. It's an outward manifestation. You can't hold it in like, you know, nobody will know you're Muslim if you keep it to yourself. Okay. That's an outward characteristic. So you have, the first thing is the Shahada. And this is still falling right in line with the Hadith of Jibril. The second thing, what is after Shahada is what? The Salat. Right? And the words that he used was Iqimus Salat, right? To establish, or Tuqimus Salat, to establish the prayer, for you to establish the prayer. Now, what's interesting is the word Qim, or Qa'im, Sheikh Abdullahi Fodiyo, he's the brother of the Shehu. He said the word Qa'im or Aqimu, right? Oh, don't worry about that. Anyway, the establishment of prayer is everything connected to wudu, ghusl, libas, clothing, qibla, haid, menses. Right? I could have just put purification, but I want to get specific. Dealing with menses, postpartum. These are all the things that you have to, and there's other things that's mentioned that I think didn't mention. Sajda, right? Sahu, right? Prostration and forgetfulness. All of this is connected to salat. See, a lot of times, we cut ourselves off because if we come to the masjid, we learn the motions, but we don't learn all of those things. What invalidates wudu? What invalidates prayer? How to determine the qibla? How to determine the time for salat and things like that. We were like, man, I ain't no scholar. I ain't getting into all that. But you have to. And the lack of us learning it is the lack of preservation of Islam. The more you stay away from these sciences, the more you destroy Islam. And what happens now? Then you have everybody wiping over cotton socks. Women will be wiping over their khimars. They'll be praying with nail polish on, coming in the masjid on their mints, and reading the Quran on their mints, and so on and so forth. All of these things are necessary to be learned. These things are necessary. The atrocity that we have going on right now Islamically, because there's a lot of bodies, that does not mean that Islam is firmly established. You can put a whole bunch of robots in the same color, and guess what? The robot only going to do what you program it to do. But when you're teaching people Islam from beginning to end, right? From beginning to end, the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, he said that La yabqa min al-Islam ila ismuhu. There'll be nothing left of Islam except his name. Right? There'll be nothing left of Islam except the name. How is that when the Prophet ﷺ told us, Buni al-Islam al-Khamsa, Islam is built up on 5? How is that? But later on, he's saying that there's going to time of Akhir al-Zaman, there's going to come up on the time of the people, the people later on, that there's La Yabqa min Islam ila ismu. There's going to be nothing left of Islam except its name. Well, let's keep going. We'll figure out. Let's see the reality of this hadith. What's the third thing after you learn the salah? Zakat. How many people are paying zakat? Putting money in the box every Friday ain't zakat. Putting money in the box on Friday ain't zakat. Zakat also, it requires you to have some sort of leader. You know, the people that don't want to have no connection to a leader, no accountability, they don't pay zakat anyway. And you notice that mysteriously and magically, everybody's broke. We ain't got no money for the minimum nisab. You know, in Islam, you ain't even got to worry about it, you know, because if you ain't got it, then you can't give it. But meanwhile, we're buying 65-inch TVs. Meanwhile, we're buying 65-inch TVs. Our diner bill is bigger than our sadaqah. This is why Aisha said the first innovation after the death of the Prophet ﷺ was men with big bellies. We ain't good, but we ain't paying good. Fourth thing is what? Fasting. You know that thing that come every year, what they call it? Moon wars? And then number 5, of course, Hajj. This is Islam. This is why it's called Fodiyo Zahir, right? At the outward branch. And it's also known as fiqh, okay? Everybody should be familiar with that term. It's also known as fiqh. So you got your outward, you got shahada, you got salah, you got zakat, fasting, all of these things are outward. And it has conditions and things that invalidate each and every one of these things. But guess what? When you don't know, you don't do. So let's go back to what I mentioned in the narration that the Prophet ﷺ said. La yabqa min al-Islam ila ismuhu. There's going to be nothing left of Islam except its name. Let's see, how many pillars are we actually practicing today? Yeah, people still come to the masjid and stuff and declare the shahada. Most people pray. Nope. Get an M for maybe. Nope. So did the Prophet ﷺ tell the truth? Absolutely. These things aren't being established. I ain't talking about around the world because a lot of times we stretch too far. Well, I know in the deserts of look, we ain't in Mauritania. We right here in the hood. We in Camden, Philadelphia, New York, and all the other places, inner cities. We right here. These things being established? No. People are taking out bank loans in order to pay for the masjid. Zakat establishes the Baitul Mal. Through that, you know the thing that everybody makes mockery of people receiving welfare? Well, zakat is a welfare system. And even if you got a job, and your job doesn't allow you to live for a whole year, meaning your sustenance is taken care of for a whole year, you're eligible for zakat. If you travel to another city and you know the Amir knows you're a traveler, you're eligible to receive zakat. And there's a category of a bunch of people. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. Maybe we'll do a fiqh intensive one day or something. Boom. Zahir. Now, let's go over here. And what's interesting is, with these branches, people are splitting them up. You got some people only concerned about fiqh, this person only concerned about aqidah, and these guys over here, these are the Sufis. Right? Tasawwuf. And this is called Furu' Batin. Right? The inward side, the inward branch. Now, disclaimer. I'm gonna disclaim it right now. I love Sufis. The only Sufis I don't like is the Sufis that go against the practice of the Prophet. You know, they sound good, you know, doing some things together. I ain't talking about group living. Don't worry. I'm talking about the guys, the whirlers, the spinners, break dancers and stuff. Those guys I chew up. I usually call them goofy Sufis. Right? Anyway, so the science of Tasawwuf is not the science of dhikr. Tasawwuf, it comes to eradicate certain characteristics and traits about you. Right? Most people today, when they practice Tasawwuf, they're practicing a guilty type of, it's like a guilt. And they're missing the part because most Sufis that I know today are extremely arrogant. They're extremely arrogant. So what does Tasawwuf come? It comes to erase certain things, inward characteristics, internally, right? What are some of the things that it come to erase internally? Conceit, right?
Yeah.
One of the first things that you run into is conceited Sufis. Why? Because everybody's sheikh is the sheikh with the biggest chain. He's the highest sheikh. And guess what? All his little minions and murids, they claim to fame is, my sheikh is the greatest sheikh and he's better than your sheikh, right? And don't let them be living sheikhs, right? Because then they start gangbanging. You know, you got the like especially West Africans, boy, they be gangbanging. You know, Tijanis don't like, you know, the Muradiya, and so they be gangbanging, right? My sheikh, but it's supposed to be about purifying the heart and all these things, right? So what else? What are some of the other ones? I heard somebody say Riyadh.
Sister said arrogance.
Now, so this is showing off, right? Arrogance. I think I said that right. Arrogance, especially showing off, especially social media, right? They show off for everything. Now, some people just automatically, if you're doing something good, you gotta understand you're putting yourself in the line of fire for haters too. You know, you're doing something good because honestly, our problem is we don't see enough. We don't see enough. We don't hang out with enough righteous people to think that righteousness is really supposed to be part of our decorum. Right? We kind of like always hanging with somebody that's shady. Or we don't want to be around nobody, so we continue to be shady. Right? We don't look out righteous companionship. Because one of the principles, the client of the path to Tasawwuf is that you keep company either with your sheikh or your brothers in the path. Why? Because, especially the brothers in the path, why is that? Because each and every one of these persons have a different characteristic, and they follow that, and that characteristic is something off of the Prophet ﷺ. There's some brothers you be around, all he do is smile. Right? That was a normal trait of the Prophet ﷺ. You'll be around some brothers, you know, and people hate being around them. They remind you of church people, but they don't like to get caught up in backbiting. Nope, I'm not going to talk about that brother. You want backbite, you might just go ahead and keep that, right? Or they start doing things and covering their ears and things like that. Most people are like, man, I ain't trying to be around. I ain't think you too good. But sometimes that's the best person to be around. Because why? Your conversation is going to be about something constructive and it's going to be about benefit, right? So, Riyadh, arrogance. Another one, anger. Right? We some of the angriest people in the world. All you gotta do is start driving rush hour. Right? I don't be the smiling man all the time when I'm driving. You know, I might say a couple words or two. You ain't gonna like them. Right? Anger. What else? Selfishness. Or what's the other word? Stinginess. Right, stingy. Right? All of these things, these are the things that's supposed to be talked about, be taught. This is the Tasawwuf that you're supposed to be learning. But most of the time, most people's introduction into Tasawwuf is the history of the sheikh, right? They tell you that your heart is bad, you need to have love in your heart, and all these things, and then some of these things they start missing. Only certain paths take this route. Right?
Love of rank and love of wealth.
Love of rank. SubhanAllah, that might close a lot of masjids. It'll stop a lot of the Facebook wars too. Love of rank. Everybody want to be the man. Matter of fact, the destruction of the black community came from all of our young men went over to go study and came back and ain't established nothing but themselves. Love of rank. What other diseases of the heart we got? I'll mention just a couple more and I'll get to the text.
Greediness. Greed.
Greed.
Like overeating.
Greed. Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of Sufis We some of the heavyweight Sufis. That's what we call ourselves. And it's funny when you ever talk about that narration that Imam Qadi Iyad mentions about Imam Malik, where they came to Medina, and they told Malik there's a people, you know, that they sing and dance, right? And he said, what are they, children? Right? And he said, well, no, you know, many of them claim to be ulama. Actually, you know, they claim to be. Oh, he said no. He said they had big bellies too, right? And that's when he's like, what are they, children? And he said, no, they actually claim to be ulama and they claim to be Sufis. And he said Imam Malik laughed. Now, one of the things when you learn about the life of Imam Malik, his demeanor was the same demeanor of Umar ibn Khattab, right? He had a demeanor of Umar ibn Khattab. Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was, when it came to Deen, he was no nonsense. He was like no nonsense. He showed mercy to the weak, but he was hard on those who were strong, right? And another characteristic of Umar ibn Khattab, he didn't laugh and he didn't talk unnecessarily, right? And so that was one of his traits. So when they said Imam Malik laughed, right? It was like the man who came to him to tell him about this event of these people who claimed to be Sufi that had big bellies and they were singing and dancing, right? All of the students that kept company with Imam Malik every day, he's like, yo, what kind of evil something evil about you, man? How you come here, you know, making Imam Malik laugh and he walked off, he didn't even come back out, right? So that person was looked at as a person. He wasn't looked at as a comedian, or he didn't look at it as the big. He just looked at it like, yo, man, go ahead somewhere. Everybody like, yo, what are you doing here, man? You just messed everything up for the day, right? Because why? Because they were making a claim. You got to understand, who was Imam Malik? Imam Malik sat with some of the highest tabi. He was a tabi. He was from the first 3 generations. And so him saying that we didn't know this from our scholars, from our people, then he's talking about from amongst the tabi. Right? So anyway, so Tasawwuf. So these are the 2 branches of the Deen. So Usool'd Deen, your Aqidah, is the Deen in itself, and then you have the 2 branches, the outward branch and the inward branch. All right? These are the 2 branches. So, which brings me to one more thing. That is to the book, and then we'll get to narrating the book, inshallah.
Can I ask a question, Shehu?
Yes.
What makes people scared of diving into the realm of Tasawwuf?
The books that they're reading. I can remember a book back in 1996 by Sheikh bin Baz. It was called Calling on Other Than Allah. That was one. So if you went to the grave, I mean, we literally after reading that book, we literally thought if you went to the grave to make dua for somebody, it was almost like grave worship. Right? That was the concept that was given. Misunderstanding, you know, and plus, you know, you see some of the, you know, alhamdulillah for cameras, you get to see footage of some of the things that happen halfway around the world with certain scholars, and when somebody that dies, you know, you see that they went and made dua and so on and so forth. But anyway, also Ibn Taymiyyah, a lot of his works is translated. Sometimes I kind of wonder why, but I realize what's going on. We'll get into that after class if you want to. Ibn Taymiyyah, he was a Qadri Sufi. But he wasn't the type of Sufi that he refutes. He wasn't a singer and a dancer, right? He wasn't that kind of Sufi. He was like one of them Sufis, the same way that Ahmed Zarruq was a Sufi. You know, he would criticize people that did practices that wasn't from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And so these books are in English, it's standard. So your eyes and your mind is already trained to reject certain words. There's certain words you're trained, right? Like anytime you hear Iman, you're automatically going to think about your Islamic belief, right? If you hear shirk, you're already going to start thinking about kufr, you know, things associating any type of partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your mind is just this flash words. They got certain words that just consciously, subconsciously is just automatic, right? If you say Christmas to me, I'd be like, right? Most Muslims now, they celebrate Christmas. Anyway, you say those kind of things. Me, he's like, no. You know what's funny? Before Christmas, my family really didn't practice Christmas when I was growing up. We wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses. Matter of fact, we was actually Pentecostal Christians. But we didn't really practice Christmas like talking about it. And so me, I was kind of like the little rebel. I was like the anti-white. I was so pro-black, and my mother thought I was like gonna be like locked up for being black militant or something. She told me that one day. She said she was concerned about me growing up being a black militant. So anyway, Santa Claus was white. I ain't like white Santa, so I ain't like Santa either. Then I ain't like the Nation of Islam. I think I was telling it to my wife the other day. I didn't really like the Nation. I liked their rhetoric, what they used to talk, but I hated that they wore bow ties and had bald faces. I couldn't stand it. I used to think they were envious of white people. So I like, man, I ain't getting down with that stuff, man. They talk a good one. I actually like Dr. York and his folk. They looked at anti-white.
Science fiction.
It looked at anti-white to me. Yo, listen. If I'd have ran up on his Quran with the pictures, I probably would have bought into that joint at first. He had the turban on with the sunglasses and the staff. The lamb. I probably would have bought into that joint early on. How did he love for Islam?
A lot of people did, man.
I'd have bought right in. Listen, you see that joint walking around New York? That joint, yeah, Germantown. You see Germantown, a whole bunch of white. But that was Brooklyn. That was Brooklyn. The whole lower New York was like that. Dudes walking around with those, women with all veils and everything. Kids speaking Arabic. We was like, yo, who is these dudes? So it would have been like, yo, I'm about to get down with them. Because I was just anti-white. You know what I'm saying? And I got a lot of white relatives. That's the crazy part. But I always stood my ground like, nope, white man, y'all evil because y'all did such and such, such and such. But anyway, you train with certain language, and it takes you there. So when they talking about to someone, and what's so funny is you'll see them use words like this. Tasafiyah. Right? What's the other word? Tarabiyah. All this goes with Sufism. How about that? They just change the words. It makes it better for them to taste it. You know, like with medication, you know, they put all the bubblegum flavor in there so little kids it tastes better. You take it down, you just change the word. You just wipe this out, say, well, you got a taskiyah to nafs, you got to purify your soul, right? The tasafiyah is kind of like the same word as taskiyah, right? It's purification. This is training, tarabiyah, and so on and so forth. So that's it's just all a matter of being able to read and dissect through their literature. So now the last thing we're going to talk about is this. We're going to talk about dalil, right? You have two types of dalil. Actually three, but we're only going to discuss two.
Saint Charles.
The first one is dalil al-aqaliyah. Alright? And then you have dalil al-naqaliyah. Okay? Aqaliyah is intellectual proofs. It's intellectual proofs. Naqaliyah is textual. Alright? This is where you get your Quran, Sunnah. I don't know why everybody leave out this last one. Ijma. Alright? If you go against Ijma, the consensus of the Muslims is saying that this is what it is, and you go against Ijma, this holds the same weight that you going against the Quran and Sunnah. Holds the same weight. Aqaliyah, there's a condition on Aqaliyah. It has a condition. Anybody know what that condition is? It cannot contradict the textual. Cannot contradict textual proof. It cannot do that. So when you use Aqaliyah, there's plenty of things that Allah tell you in the Quran to use your intellect to rationalize. Allah talks about it. He talks about the ulul albab, right? People of that type of intellect, basair, you know, that's more so reflection. That is a result of you holding to the text, where you get a clear insight. That is something given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not something that you can really just acquire. something that Allah give a person basir, an insight. You know, you naturally get it at 40. Your insight be on Deen at 40. Really does. Just, you know, to what level? Everyone's level is different. But your insight, you grow intellectually at 40. However, this doesn't have nothing to do with what we're discussing. Aqli proof is things of how do you know that? Well, we're going to discuss that in the text. What is the proof that that Allah Ta'ala exists? Intellectual proof, it exists in created things, right? So who does that refute? That refutes the atheists, right? Or the atheists. So what's the other dude with the Big Bang Theory? The Darwinians, right? They say everything just came together, poof, right? Or evolution from monkeys.
That's Charles Darwin too.
Yeah. Do you know he was a Christian? I actually read up on him. Yeah, he was a heavy Christian. Right. Christians always had a problem with embracing science.
Yeah.
They always had a problem with that. Because they were so, everything was about God and miracles, right? That some of the things that happened naturally, they just could not comprehend and put it together. And that's why atheists use science to contradict them. That's how they refute Christians. Because Christians, they just like stick with whatever the book says, and they like, nope. You know, they won't use certain types of medicine. They be like, no, you can't do that, you know, and so on and so forth. So dalil aqliyah, dalil naqliyah. The intellectual proof and the textual proof. This is also used in the text. So we went through all of this to mention because the science that we're studying is Usool'd tonight. That we're going over is Usool'd. And it's going to have its intellectual proof and it's going to have its textual proof as well, right? So we're going to go into that. We're going to narrate it. It doesn't require a whole lot of explanation because he has other books that go deeper into narration, into narrating and talking about the science of Tawheed. So we mentioned the Hadith of Jibril because the Hadith of Jibril is where what they call Sunnah is where it's all, you know, where it all goes at. If you would needed a dawah, you know how people used to be like, man, we got to put together a dawah team and all those things. That was beautiful back in the day, but if we just read the Hadith of Jibril, that was your dawah mission. That was your dawah mission. He came, he asked him, Akhbirni an Islam. Inform me what is Islam. Prophet ﷺ told him what Islam was. Akhbirni an Iman. Inform me what is Iman. Akhbirni an Ihsan. Inform me what is Ihsan. That's the dawah mission. Whether it's Muslim, non-Muslim. It's what you teach them. And what's interesting is like I said, Usool'd, that's the foundation. You can't jump to be a Sufi without having a proper Aqidah. You can't jump to be a Madhabi without having a proper Aqidah. Right? Because all of these things are all intertwined. This is Aqidah is the paramount, is first and foremost. So we'll go right into the text, inshallah. Alright, so I won't hold you up any longer. I won't put you guys to sleep. Alright, so Qala Mu'alif rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, as a matter of fact, I'll read more from English perspective than anything. Oh, there's one more nah, we'll get into that another time, inshallah. So the Sheikh he mentions, he says, all praise is due to Allah Ta'ala who has favored us with Iman, Islam, and guided us through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that the name of this book is called Kifayyatu al Mutahidah. What is Kifaya meaning? It's enough for the people that are guided, right? He says, "Naam, faslu fi ilahiyat." So the section pertaining to the ilahiyat, meaning the divinity, where it's going to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is necessary for you to know with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, فَأَقُولُ بِاللَّهِ تَوْفِيقٍ. And with Allah ta'ala's success, he says, عَالِمُ حَادِثُ. Right? And so the Shaykh, he goes in, the first thing that he mentioned is, this is what we were speaking about earlier, me and the brothers, عَالِمُ حَادِثُ. That everything is part of end-time creation. عَالِمُ. Right? End-time creation. What does it mean to be part of end-time creation? What are some of the things in end-time creation? Sun rising. You kind of there. What'd you say? Has a beginning and an end. Okay.
Is there a separation between end-time creation and not affected by time creation?
No, end time creation is
Okay, so everything's
anything outside of end time creation is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nah. Because end time creation, you get old. Right? From the time you're born, you 1 day old, 1 minute old, 2 minutes old. You get old. And the more you're living, the closer you get into your own death. Every blink you take is a blink towards you dying. Every inhale, exhale is a thing towards you dying. We don't know when our actual death date is, but guess what? Every action that you're doing is towards your death. You get old, your birthdays, right? We celebrate birthdays, but actually should be a reminder to you that, yo, you're getting close to dying, right? That's what it should be. Not so much we're going to turn up, on our birthday, but we should be like, man, I'm about to turn down. I got to get serious. Right? But we don't do that. We turn up. We like, woo, yeah, yo, we going to party. We going to drink and eat, right? And everybody else is looking for a reason to drink and eat. So that's end time creation. Up, down, right? That's movement. Back and forth, or front and back, side to side. That's movement. And this is also why Imam Tahawi says that Allah is not compelled by the 6 directions. Because wow, all 6 of these directions are confined to time. You move forward fast. You can even describe your time movement, right? He moving slow. He too slow. You getting old. Why you look young? Right? You have description for all these things. So the first thing the Sheikh, he starts off, he says that everything in existence is part of end time creation. And the intellectual proof of this is he says it's Lizami. It's Lizami. End time creation is described by Haduthi. Things that are inseparable of creational qualities, like we just talked about. Old, young, new, or new, old, up, down, movement. All of these things are all description of end time, right? Remember we was talking about earlier about the whole concept of this more was a private conversation, but about istiwa, right? Istiwa, what is known as how they translate it is rose. Rose or rises up and down. It's a motion. Right? And what's crazier, even crazier about it is it's a past tense, it's a fi'l maldi. It's a past tense action. Right? So what are you saying? Allah comes to a halt, right? When you start using time, you're like, oh no, he's constantly moving. Okay, now he's constantly moving. Now you're putting him in time. He's always moving around now, right? Allah Ta'ala is separate from time and separate from place. He's separate from these. Time and place is doing, right? Right, Nico? You coming towards me? You see that? That's in time creation. Moving towards me, you're gonna drink your bottle, he's drinking, all right? That's in time. That's in time action. We can't use these kind of qualities to say that that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't describe Allah with those qualities. So the next thing that the Sheikh he mentions, he says that creation is described with haduthi, right? Or hadithu, is inseparable qualities, and is in time movement and in time motionless, meaning harakat sukun. So either you're going to be moving or you're going to be at a resting point. Right? All intellectual proof. He said these qualities are inseparable of end time creation. You can't separate them. You can't separate them. So anything that you think of, Allah Ta'ala is not that. Because everything that you think of is going to be created. End time creation is created. Think of some of the television shows. One TV show I used to watch when I was a kid, to tell how old I was Mr. Ed, the talking horse. Whoa there, Wilbur. Right? I used to love watching, I don't know why, I used to love watching it. And then it came in color too, because it used to be black and white. And it came in color. So I used to watch Mr. Ed all the time, right? I know, I'm telling my age. Hey there, Wilbur. Right? I thought that was amazing, a horse that could talk. Just when I thought it couldn't get no better, then it came up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles that did kung fu and they talking ate pizza. You couldn't get no better, but guess what? It's all end time creation. The mind, that imagination that you use is always going to think of that. So he says the evidence from the Quran is what Allah Ta'ala, he says in the Quran, Allahu khalaqa kulli shay. Allah created everything. Your movement, your thoughts, all of it is end time creation. So guess what? It's end time creation. So when you say that Allah Ta'ala doesn't have a place and he's not described by time, and they say, oh no, these people are they're living falsehood because they say that Allah doesn't have, He doesn't have a place. Here you go. Allahu khalaqa kulli shay. Allah created everything. Right? Now,
Is that because they're trying to grasp an understanding of like everything we understand has a place.
mm-hmm.
So to them, conceptually, they can't imagine Allah existing without
a place, right?
In their minds, they think you're saying Allah is not existing at all.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're thinking.
But
The arsh, huh?
Doesn't that bring it back to what you were saying earlier about the atheists and the Christians? How one couldn't grasp the concept of science, and while other ones couldn't grasp the concept
Exactly.
of like.
That's exactly what it is. They can't. And then also the other thing you gotta understand too is that the whole idea of arsh. Arsh is one of the greatest sign of creation, right? So the fact that it's mentioned in the ayat, the arsh, right? Some people are literally using because it used the harf ala, right? Saying that on top of or over, right? And then it's using the word arsh after that. They made a place out of that. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So they're using this word right here. This word right here. Ala, right? Where ala, they're using it to mean on top of or over. Right? Now, if they mean this in a state of, what do they say, mechana, right? Like a rank, then there's no problem like that when they're saying it in that manner. But if they're saying my Quraishi, right? When they go into this whole thing of mekan, when they're giving a law, this is place. They can't separate the two. And what's interesting is the word istiwa. Istiwa. Right? The word istiwa comes from the word sawa. Right? Comes from that word. This is a film. A verb. I'm telling you, boy, you ever get into the Arabic, I'm telling you, this is good. I'm telling you, I'm getting high right now, right? I'm like, fi'l, what is a fi'l? A word that conveys a meaning in itself, and it is connected to time. So automatically, any particular words that you use, you have to be cautious, right? You have to be cautious. This is what with ta'wil. Ta'wil is making you be cautious of what you say about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the apparent meaning, the tafweed, you leave it. That meaning, what is true understanding, is true meaning, over to Allah without even trying to interpret. You just accept it, right? But then with ta'wil, when you're interpreting, giving this interpretation, it has to be restricted and confined to something that's befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just can't say what you want about Allah. And that's where I think a lot of it too also comes from, is being influenced by philosophy. Because they have like this unlimited mind state, right? And also, you know, another science that was also developed in order to protect the mind from, you know, from going too far, was the science of mental, right? Logic. It's taught a certain way. You know, we went over, I studied a book of Waraka and Usool'd, but the commentator, Sheikh Shinkiti, he has a whole chapter dedicated to logic, or where the logic can't overstep its boundaries. This is why we began talking about the different types of dalil. That's a little bit of logic there. There's certain things the mind has to be trained to embrace that. Okay, we can use the intellect, but it can't contradict the text, right? If there's certain ways you can pray, you just can't pray any way you want to. What makes you think you can think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or say about Allah any way you want to? It has to be restricted. It has to be restricted in that manner. You can't just say what you want. So anyway, so Allah Ta'ala, He says about Himself, He says, Allahu khalaqa kulli shay'in, that Allah Ta'ala created everything, shay'in, everything, right? The little small molecule that you can't see, and so on and so forth, right? He says, he goes on, the Shaykh, he goes on and he says, that is because creation is hadatha, it's in-time creation. So that's understood in so we don't have this problem about separating, that Allah Ta'ala is separated from time and place. We shouldn't have this problem, because now we understand that. So we move on to the next point. Allah Ta'ala is mawjood, that he's existing, right? Now this here is where we get in beef with the the atheists, right? They're gonna be upset with us about this, because they say there ain't no such thing as a God, right? Well, we say that Allah Ta'ala is mawjood, he exists. And the intellectual proof is that Allah Ta'ala's existence is the fact that he, Allah Ta'ala, created the world, everything everything in existence and its inhabitants, from a non-existent state. Think about it. We were a thing unheard of. We have a beginning and we have an ending. We were a thing unheard of. It goes all the way back to our father Adam alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala created, right? And from them, right? What's the ayah in Surah An-Nisa? Ya ayyuhan nasu ittaqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. Right? Created you from one. Wa khalaqa minha zawjaha. And then created his mate. Right? And then he said, wa batha rijalan kathira. Right? And from them it came many countless people. Right? Allah Ta'ala is already telling you. This is an ayah telling you about this. This is the proof that Allah exists. He told you just in that order. Why do we say things against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he say about himself? Allah is mawjood, he's existent. And so the proof of that is the fact that everything in this dunya, this world, from the heavens, the earth, everything that in existence was once in a non-existent state. And a non-existent thing does not perform any action. Right? You were lucky. Think about it. When you go to school and they have, what do they call that now? They used to call it sex ed when I was growing up. They used to talk about, sperms and eggs and ovaries and all that. And we had to watch this video. I swear, a lot of you know, when the first time I learned this text, and the first thing that came to my mind was a little sperm fighting out of all the sperm, a million sperm that hits the egg, and then all of a sudden it's a human being, right? You were in the womb, you were a thing uncreated, you didn't even have your name. You were fighting it to exist, right? Then Allah creates you, and then you're not gonna give him his proper rights? Subhanallah. So anyway, Allah Ta'ala, he says in the Quran, Afilahi shak fatru samawati wal ard. Are you in doubt that Allah Ta'ala being the creator of the heavens and the earth? Right? So Allah Ta'ala, he mentions this, it mentions that in the Quran. So then Allah Ta'ala, he's eternal without a beginning. And the proof of that is that Allah Ta'ala is that the capability to bring creatures into existence. Because an incapable can't create. They can't do anything. And as for the proof of Allah Ta'ala's eternity, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, Huwa awwal. Right? He is first without a beginning. Right? Allah Ta'ala is awwal. And when you think of first, don't think about nothing preceded, not in a numerical sense. First. Nothing else exists. No beginning. That's something that you can't even fathom really and comprehend in your mind. Because in our mind, everything has a beginning, which goes back to why the Darwin theory. They came up with that whole theory, the Big Bang. Well, that was the beginning right there. Yeah, the gases come together in combustion. Boom, yeah, there you go, human being. Or evolution of man came from monkeys. See, all these things, anything to deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why, with our children, they have to be constantly reviewed, constantly taught this, and constantly make them read the Quran, so that when they're going to school in order to acquire this skill, until we get some Muslim colleges, they need to know this science, right? They need to know these things connected to the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the next thing he said, Allah Ta'ala is ongoing after time. And when in time creation ceased to exist, he, Allah Ta'ala, is eternal. And the intellectual proof of his everlasting existence has been established, and that being the case, it is impossible for him to cease to exist. And as Allah Ta'ala, he says in the Quran, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبُّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَإِكْرَامِ. everything on it, right? كل ما عليها فان. Everything on it will come to perish, except وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبُّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ, except the countenance or the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's full of majesty and honor, and he will remain forever. Right? Allah ta'ala is different from end-time creation. The intellectual proof of this is his capability to create a thing from non-existence. And because whoever is similar to creation cannot create creation. Right? Even with the whole concept, you don't even hear about it no more, but when some years ago when I was a young buck, and I know some of y'all remember this, he used to have this whole thing about cloning. Remember that? And cloning, and the reason why at that time I think one of the Bushes was the president. And you know the Bushes, their background is supposed to be Christian. So they were kind of like against the concept of cloning, especially a lot of Republicans. They was like, oh no, no to cloning, and then later on it just like got pushed through. Well anyway, so from what I understand, some of this GMO meats and stuff that you eat, it's from cloned animals. And this is why you get a lot of these sickness and stuff like that. Even if I wasn't Muslim, after all the stuff I learned, I'd become a vegetarian too, like most people. Like, oh man, I'm becoming a vegetarian. Oh, I don't meat, A lot of meat is from cloned meat. Because why? You gotta remember, at the end of the day, the butcher and the farmer is still a business at the end of the day. And it's a supply and demand. People are demanding, we need more beef, we need more beef, we need more beef. So they're gonna bring more cows. They don't really create the cows in the cow. They just raise the cow, raise the cattle, make sure that they're fed, right? So what do? They use the cloning. They can't just bring it out of pure non-existence. So what do? They take eggs and some DNA and all that stuff and splice it together and boom, and then here you go. So therefore, guess what? Christians believe that contradict the existence of Allah, right? Or their God, I should say. They believe that it contradicted that, but Islam, we know that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just quoted the ayah. Allahu khalaqa kulli shay. Allah created everything, right? That egg that you're using, that DNA that they're using, whatever machines that they're using, the heat, and all that stuff, Allah ta'ala had all that created. So anyway, Allah ta'ala is different from creation. And the proof is that the proof of his capability to create a thing from non-existence, because whoever is similar to creation cannot create them. As for the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being different from creation, it's in the Quran, Laysa kamithlihi shay'un. Right? Laysa kamithlihi shay'un. Laysa is a negation. The kaf there is what they call a kaf, a similarity or similitude, right? And mithl is a word that you use as a similar. So it's like a double negative. Allah said, Laysa kamithlihi shay'un. I'm not like anything. That's what Allah Ta'ala is saying. Not anything. Shay'un. Anything.
Not even his likeness.
Right. Subhanallah. And Allah Ta'ala is independent. He's intrinsically independent, self-sufficient. He was not created, and the proof of him being self-sufficient in intellect is the necessity of him being characterized by might, by will, by knowledge, by life, because attributes cannot be characterized with such. Right? Allah Ta'ala is independent of these things. Allah Ta'ala is not dependent of these things. For someone to be azim, right? Which we understand from translation as might, to even be characterized by this, right? Think of it. Who was it? Was it with Italy? Selassie, Haile Selassie, right? A lot of Rastas would be upset with me. But you know how he died? Haile Selassie died. He got chopped up and got thrown in the toilet, right? He got killed like that. That some of them took him as a prophet, some of them took him as a god. One, he was able to, fight with their army to rid the people of the Italians that were occupying their lands. And sometimes with weak people, when they see somebody accomplish something like that, you start giving them attributes or titles of either being a prophet or a god himself, right? This is the problem that you have with Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, when you start talking about Elijah Muhammad to a lot of old heads, they will, you can put a gun to their head, they will not abandon the honorable Elijah Muhammad. They will never abandon that. A lot of them won't, right? Or some go to the other extreme, like, I can't stand him, he ain't no prophet, he's a fornicator, adulterer, and so on and so forth. why do they hold that title of honorable? Elijah Muhammad. Why is he so honorable to them? Because many of them, when he was coming about and preaching, when he only had his little 500 followers, then he gained Malcolm. Malcolm was the greatest prize to him because he was like his voice box. The esteem that the black American got, because they built the esteem. And if you don't look at these guys, all they did was just use the Quran, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does he esteem the Muslim by you? What title does he give you in the Quran? He calls you a few titles. What's some of the titles that Allah call people in the Quran? I'm talking about believing people. Mu'minun, Muslim, Muhsin, right? What else? He called people Muttaqi, right? This other word we should use this a little bit more for our sisters, so they won't feel like they, like they're less than when they're being submissive, right, to their husband. Qanit, right? These are honorific titles. And guess what? When you want to build somebody up, esteem, right? If you have a family that got a lot of pride, right? My family got a lot of pride. He's Southern folk, some Caribbean. So, my grandfather's last name was Head, right? That's my mother. That's my grandmother. My mother's side. That's their last name. My grandmother used to pride herself, right? So when I was getting a little kid, I used to get teased like, "Yo, Head, man, what up?" So I used to rumble a lot, like, "Yo, you can't say it again," right? So, but she used to preach pride into us. We're the head and not the tail. Take honor in your name, boy. I'm like, man, yeah, you right, yeah. You walk around with your chest out, right? If you had a father that was a doctor, then his children would take pride off of him being a doctor, and they may want to be a doctor too. And the wife, what does she do? Oh, my husband, that is Dr. Khalil Abdullahi. That's right, say doctor before his name, right? Your women folk take pride. Our people didn't have that same pride. A lot of people believed they was nothing. They couldn't, they didn't have a lot of money, right? They, had holes in their shoes. They lived in some of the worst places and things like that. Still similar like to today. And so they were ashamed. Many of us already ashamed of where we live at. You're like, man, where you live at? Man, I live in the hood. You want to come around there, right? But people in the streets, they take pride to their neighborhood because who do the worst crime? That's where they pride themselves. Yeah, you don't want to come down here. These are the Badlands. You don't want to come over here. They pride themselves off of those things, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prized the believers. You have the Muslim. What's the opposite? The opposite of the mu'min? The kafir, right? That's rock bottom. Can't be a mushrik. But then you have the people that have low self-esteem. Well, we can't call all people kafirs because if they don't know the truth, then they can't be. Listen, those who disbelieve, Allah referred to them as kafirun. Those who worship idol or associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they was known as mushrikeen. Bottom line. So you're supposed to have a stint of pride, right? This is why Allah Ta'ala, He tells, like, in Surah Kafirun in itself, it's nothing but self-worth in there. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Oh, you who disbelieve. First of all, you call him a disbeliever, right? That first of all in itself, that's already one. La a'budu ma ta'budun. Man, I don't worship what you worship. You don't worship what I worship. That's already in itself. I'm different. There's something different about me. But for some reason, we haven't took the same pride that the people, the former members of or the members of the NOI take in their honorable Elijah Muhammad. Matter of fact, a lot of us, we don't like to say Allah. We just start saying God. Not because people don't understand. And now everybody know who Allah is, right? Everybody know who Allah is now. Even disbelievers. We don't have that same pride. And so when you don't have that pride, guess what your children are going to do? They're going to take and put their kufi in their back pocket, and they're going to put their Knicks cap on. You said they're going to do more?
They ain't put that on.
Oh, here y'all go, man. I always want to talk about my Knicks, man. Y'all know I'm a bunch of hate. Anyway. So he said, so next the Sheikh he goes into, he says, the proof of Allah Ta'ala being independent from need of creation intellectually is the fact that Allah Ta'ala is eternal, right? And his eternity has been established and he's not in need of a creator. But we are. We'll be in absolute non-existence if Allah Ta'ala didn't create us. So then he mentions the ayat in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas wa antum al-fuqara ila Allah Wallahu hamid wallahu huwa ghaniyyun hamid. Allah Ta'ala, He says, O mankind, it is you who is in need of Allah. Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara. Allah's telling you the reality of yourself. You are in need of Him. You're in need of Him. There's things that people would love to control, but they can't control. One is rainwater, and the other one is air. If they can charge you for rain, and if they can charge you for air, you'll be a done deal, right? It's already bad enough you're paying for water and everything else, but if they can charge you for air, and if they can charge you for rain, you'll be a done deal. So anyway, so then He says Allah Ta'ala is one, and the proof of him being wahid, right, is based upon an intellectual proof. Is the fact that He created all of creation, and if there was a second to Him, then there will be much controversy between the both of them. Let me fix that. Now, and so then Allah Ta'ala, He says in the Quran, Kul huwa Allahu ahad, right? Not in a numerical sense, but more so unique, stand alone. There's nothing with Him, right? Don't think it's just number one, right? Because one can be divided, right? But however, more so in a solidarity, unity, more so a uniqueness. Fardu ahad, right? He said Allah Ta'ala is capable and He's complete, and the proof of His might, of Him being complete, is the fact that He created creatures out of nothing, and because of incapable, something that's incapable cannot create, right? And Allah Ta'ala, He says in the Quran, Inna rabbaka fa'alu lima yurid. Allah Ta'ala is capable of over all things. He has control, right? The next thing Allah Ta'ala, He mentions that He has will, irada. And the proof of the intellectual proof is the existence of different types of creatures. And the proof within the Quran, Allah Ta'ala, He says, Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. That Allah Ta'ala, He has power over everything. Allah Ta'ala is knowledgeable, right? And the proof of the proof that is His ability is to perfect things. As for the proof in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala, He says, He said the same ayah back. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. But anyway, so He says, Allah Ta'ala is al-hayy, He's alive. And the intellectual proof of such is the necessity of beings being characterized by power, will, knowledge, because the dead cannot possess any of these characteristics, right? As for the proof of Allah Ta'ala having life, huwa al-hayyu la ilaha illa huwa, right? Allah Ta'ala is living, la ilaha illa huwa, and there's no God except He. Allah Ta'ala, He hears, He sees, right? He's mutakallim, He speaks, and the intellectual proof of all that is that there's necessity of Him being complete, because if He was not complete, He will be incomplete, being characterized by the opposite of the above mentioned. The proof, and so the proof of Allah Ta'ala seeing, hearing, and speaking, Allah says in the Quran, Asma'u wa ara, right? I hear and I see, right? We don't go into how it's done, what it is, that what Allah says, that's it, khalas, right? Without modality, without any type of description. So then He says, Allah Ta'ala, He says as far as Him, Allah Ta'ala says about Himself speaking, wa kallama Allahu Musa wa taqliman. Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa in words, right? This is what Allah Ta'ala says about Himself, and this is what is obligated for us to believe. Now,
it made me think of something that was once said that I seen. That one of these scholars that people are very fond of, he said that about the completion of Allah, that they said a deficiency would be having one eye. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala must have two, because it's insufficient, His deficiency, to have one in the creation.
Those are mujassima. Those people are anthropomorphists. And anthropomorphist is the creator of Mr. Ed. I tell you, I used to love Mr. Ed. Wilbur, the talking horse. Anybody who likens Allah, he has to have two eyes. If he doesn't have two eyes, then therefore this is imperfection. Well, it's also mentioned about, they interpret Yadain as two right hands, right? Creation has a right and a left, so I guess that is also, and Qadam is only mentioned as 1 foot, not 2 foot, right? You can't attribute human characteristics, anything that you think of, the mind thinks of, it will automatically go to something that is created. That's why the safest thing, if you don't understand, I don't care if you don't understand it, this is the only time that you are permitted to say, I just believe in it, all of it, and I don't doubt none of it. Is when you're running across those things in the Quran that you don't understand their definition, or they're translated to mean something that we understand, that we know from creation. Now, so he mentions that this is the last section of Ilahiyat, and then we got like 2 more pages and then we're done, inshallah. 2 pages in the conclusion. So he says, as for the proof of his actions, being by the Allah Ta'ala's deeds, he says, are at will actions, and the proof of that intellectually is that supposing his acts were an obligation or impossibility, meaning that Allah is not compelled to something. He can leave a thing, what we would consider undone. There's nothing subjugating him to this. So he says if his acts were an obligation or impossible, everything will be turned upside down. Indeed, if it is an obligation for him to do something or not to do it intellectually, the possible will become impossible for Allah Ta'ala, and that is not conceivable, right? And as for the proof, what Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَن يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَارَةُ. Allah Ta'ala, he says in the Quran, your Lord creates whatever he wishes and he also chooses, right? So Allah Ta'ala is not compelled to a thing. Sometimes this is also, sometimes people, they have a hard time grasping because they don't understand life. And I've had people say this to, especially giving them dawah. Well, if Allah is the creator of everything, then why does he allow little kids to die? Allah said everything is going to die. Just not to sound like kind of callous, but the Muslim, we have a different concept of life, right? We have a different concept of death. It's not the same, We know that people's going to live, we know that people's going to die. It doesn't mean that a person's not going to feel sorrow or miss the person that dies, or when someone, like a little child, is vehemently killed or something like that you're not going to feel no type of way. But we do understand that there's a limit. What Allah chooses to do, that's not our business. And besides that, a child, they're in a better place if they die before reaching the stages of being taklif, right, or of becoming pubescent, because they don't have to worry about being accountable, right? So anyway, so that ends the section on the ilahiyat. The last section here is on the messengers and prophets, and I'm trying to finish this within the next 15 minutes because I got some food over here. I'm kind of hungry. Can't always compete with the stomach. So anyway, the messengers, upon them be peace, they are truthful and they transmitted all in their and the intellectual proof of that is the fact that Allah Ta'ala backed them up with miracles, right? The karama, not the karama, that's the awliya, the mu'ajizat of the prophets, right? Now, there used to be a group of Muslims that two groups of Muslims. One is from way back in the day, and then one is from not too long ago, right? The first group, they rejected prophets and messengers' miracles. Like you had Isa ibn Maryam, right? What were some of the miracles that was attributed to him? Healing the blind, right? Making the blind see again. Also, you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ also did the same thing. There was a man, his eye came out, right? Prophet ﷺ put spit on it, put his eye back in the socket, right? Most people are like, man, I ain't one of the things about the Prophet ﷺ, there was someone that was sick, and they reached and drunk from a cup, or kind of found out it was a cup of urine. They drunk it, right? Urine, the Prophet's urine is a medicine, right? It's not for everybody else. Everybody be pissing in the cup and be trying to give it to you. Yo, you drink this, just say Bismillah. No, matter of fact, you better beat this. Like, yo, you done fell off. I'll whoop you out of here, man. There's only some things that's only for the Prophet, right? So, there's certain miracles that with them, right? And then you have what is known as the karama, the awliya, right? The righteous. Allah Ta'ala blessed the righteous people to be able to do miracles. Two things. The miracles from the prophets was a sign that what they were doing was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. when a person has the ability, when a wali has the ability to perform a miracle, then it's a sign that he's following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Most miracles took place. It wasn't just like, yo, you want to see a trick? Watch this, right? It was never like that. If you read, especially like you read about the Sahabas when they were going to conquer lands in the Misr or Sudan region, right? Today known as Sudan. It was Misr back in the day. It was Egypt back in the day. It had the Nile River, and it was an army. It's mentioned in Hilwatul Awliya. It was an army, right? The Christians had about 3 times the amount of people that the Muslims had. And if I'm not mistaken, I really don't want to say a name, but I swear I think it was Uthman ibn Nafi, right? Because he was known to lead the jihad in that region. He asked them, has anybody been committing any major sins today? They said, La Amirul Mu'mineen. They said, we're going to proceed. Now, mind you, they had to cross this river to get over to the other side. Now, the other side, the enemy's standing over there waiting for you, right? They begin to walk across the water. The entire army began to walk across the water, right? They said that army over there, look, 1/3 of them was like, yo, we out. I ain't fighting nobody walking on water. I'm good, bro. See, yeah, this is your battle, right? The second third, guess what they did? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The third, they stayed, fought, and got annihilated. Allah Ta'ala will give you those kind of miracles, those type of things in the important times. Not no just like a person saying, yeah, you want to see a magic trick? Watch this. Right? No, that's not what's happening. But when you see in a mu'jiza, a karama, this is usually like a sign, right? Think about it. The story with Musa alayhi salam. Who did he battle? He battled the magician, right? To show his prophethood, show who he was, right? Musa outdid the magician, and he became Muslim. He became like, look, man, my joint is an illusion. That's real. You see? So this is part of the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Allah Ta'ala sent them with miracles to back it up. What's the greatest miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Quran. The Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't have the ability to read. But the language of the Quran is a miracle in itself. And Allah Ta'ala took things and rearranged things from their normal everyday saying, and they looking at like, how does Muhammad know this, man? He wasn't all that good with Arabic. Like, how did he able to change it? So then what happened became a challenge. Allah challenged people in the Quran. What did Allah say? If you think this is from other than Allah, he said, do what? Produce one ayat. And there's been people trying to do it from now, probably from the beginning then up until this day, and they've still been unable to do so. So then Allah Ta'ala, he mentions in the Quran that the messengers are upon truth. He said, then the Sheikh, he goes on, he says, the messengers are also trustworthy. So they're truthful, they're also trustworthy. He said that the evidence of them being trustworthy intellectually is the fact that Allah Ta'ala commanded us to imitate them as role models in their words, in their actions. As for the proof of their trustworthiness in the Quran. Now think about this. See, that's why I don't mess with hadiths, I only follow the Quran. If you say that, then you ain't following the same Quran that we follow, right? Because Allah Ta'ala sent the Quran, and it instructs us to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So Allah Ta'ala, he says in the Quran, he says, indeed, I am a trustworthy messenger. He said that to tell the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say this, right? Then Allah Ta'ala, then the Sheikh, he says that the messengers, they transmitted what they were commanded to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to transmit to creation, and the proof of this intellectually. As for the proof of that in the Quran, where Allah Ta'ala, he says, transmit to those the message of their Lord Allah Ta'ala, and fear him, and do not fear anyone else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Now, with this will start refuting the ideas Noble Jew Ali, right? Some of the Shia, right? Who all make a claim, the Quran wasn't complete. There was some hidden chapters, the missing chapter. Didn't Drew Ali write a book about the 115th chapter or something like that? These type of things. These guys come up with this stuff. This is why we have to be solid on what we believe. This is how you preserve the Deen, and you teach it to your children. So guess what? Because they're going to pass down this stuff, right? My children, they're descended, their grandfathers are Moor. And he tries to creep his little Moorish nonsense temple stuff in there. and try to teach it to them. Yeah, you know, you shake hands like this, and you do this like this. But if we're not teaching them to refute that kind of stuff and not to believe in it, guess what they're going to say? My pop told me, you know, Wuju Ali had 115 chapter to the Quran. Right? So we have to preserve it. This has to be constantly taught. We can't take this blasé attitude towards our Aqidah. Here we go again, another Aqidah class. Anybody got time for that kind of stuff? Right? That's everybody's attitude. You start talking about Aqidah, then we don't need no more Aqidah. Well, we need a black man need $1. That's your God most of the time. Right? We black men need $1. Bro, we're going to get dollars. Allah already promised you that in the Quran. He ain't promised we're going to be rich. We will get what we need. Right? And everybody gets the sustenance that they need. So then he goes on and he mentions that the messengers, they are prone to human experiences. Because people would say, well, why is it that, you know, and Allah says this in the Quran, that the kuffar, they say that. Well, why didn't Allah send an angel? Right? See, the kuffar, they were always arrogant and always wasn't satisfied. What? You know, part of the word kufr, it means to be ungrateful. Right? Well, why did Allah send you? Why didn't He send an angel or something? Right? Remember with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, what did He say? Okay, we know Allah, we don't know who this Rahman or Rahim is, so take that off. Right? And if we believe you was a messenger, we'll follow you. Right? And what the Prophet ﷺ did, because he couldn't write or read, he instructed Ali to erase it. That was the one time you'll ever see a Sahaba say no. He told the Prophet ﷺ, no, I'm not doing that. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ said, all right, well, give me the pen, show me where it's at, and I'll scratch it. Why? Because he's not going to denounce the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not going to denounce the Prophet ﷺ. Right? These happen in real time event. So anyway, so he mentions the ayat. Well, Allah Ta'ala, He says, we have sent the messengers before you, and we made spouses for them, as well as offspring. Right? Now, this is the weirdest thing. You see the new thing that they're promoting on Netflix, that they're Jesus, which is supposed to be Isa ibn Maryam, but we don't acknowledge him as Isa ibn Maryam. So we'll always say they're Jesus, who's supposed to be their prophet. Now they're trying to say that he was gay. Right? Well, why they say he's gay? He didn't have a wife. But see, their deen is incomplete, insufficient. We know that the Isa ibn Maryam, we know when he come back, he gonna get married. Right? He gonna have a couple wives. See, Christianity ain't about monogamy. Jesus loves polygyny. Jesus for polygyny, 2020, right? But anyway, so Isa ibn Maryam, he's gonna get married when he returns. Right? So anyway, so he also mentions, he quotes the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we never sent a messenger before you without them eating food or moving around in the marketplaces. Because we always had this idea that if you're a prophet, you ain't supposed to do what we do. You're supposed to be different. Right? And that's what broke the hearts of all of the followers of Elijah Muhammad. Also, there's another story about that with Malcolm. He had a brother that was part of the nation. And his brother was actually in the nation before Malcolm was. And his brother kind of like went crazy, you know, because of he got excommunicated and ostracized out of the nation, out of the community, because he was fornicating and committing adultery, right? Irony in that. So he was fornicating and committing adultery, and got found out, and Elijah banned him from the community. And it drove him crazy because Malcolm's brother felt he got banned by the messenger. I'm just using that word loosely. He got banned by the messenger, put out the community. He don't have nobody else to turn to. So him and Malcolm just keep contacting each other. And Malcolm would write him while he was in jail and ask him, like to pardon him, show mercy to him, let him back in the community. He had lost his mind, and so on and so forth. He like, nope, we got to stick to the letter of the law, and so on and so forth. And a lot of times you read a lot of history of Malcolm, you see that I think Elijah was a little jealous of Malcolm because he made him change his name from Malachi, made him change his name back to Malcolm. Right? That's why later on, after he embraced Islam, his name always been Malik, but it was Malachi first. I guess that's the Hebrewic form of Malik. If you read and research that, you'll see that I think there was a little jealousy going on there. It was a little bit there. So anyway, so why did Malcolm leave the nation? Part of what was the main break for Malcolm leaving the nation? He found out about Elijah's illegitimate children, right? Hey, you couldn't forget my brother. He was sleeping. He was knocking off the sisters in the temple, stuff a lot, right? And you couldn't forgive him, but we supposed to just turn a blind eye to you. You supposed to be the messenger, right? And then that's when Malcolm came out. Elijah Muhammad is afraid that I'll expose the fact that he has many illegitimate children, all his children by his secretaries. And if you ever notice that all these guys who claim to be prophets, one thing, they all have a problem controlling their nafs. All of them, right? People who's arrogant, that's one way Allah will humble you. When you start committing fornication and adultery, it catches up with you. Because what ruins your message faster than anything? Sleeping with women that you ain't married to. That will kill your message. I don't care who it is. Dr. York, why was everybody married with Dr. York? Because of the green boom boom room. Like, yo, this dude had the green room. And his brother, when he broke off and started his own mission, that what is it called? I think it was AIM, the African Islamic Mission. He was a little smoother. I ain't gonna front, he's a little smoother. You probably would have followed him. He probably caught you if you didn't learn Islam. He said the ayah of polygyny, right? This boy was an algebra. He was in the algebra. 2 plus 3, because when you read the Arabic, it's like it's saying double, right? But that's not what it's emphasizing. But it sound like it's saying double. So this boy took and said 2 plus 3 plus 4. How much does that make? Do the math. 9, right? So he said y'all can have 9 wives. All liars are the one thing they cater to. Musaylima, that was Musaylima's thing. What Musaylima say? You can have as many wives as you want to. He was like, hold up, wait, the revelation's coming. The birds, the trees, and the flowers. Allah said you can have many wives you want. Everybody like, yo, back to the old days. People apostated. Whatever it usually, what that shows is, whatever the nafs caters to, people is going to follow that. That's what a lot of people think about it. When people go and ask for fatwas, usually they're looking for a fatwa for something that's going to give them what they want, right? And a lot of the stuff that we battle and argue about, some of the thing, the reality of it, some of it caters to your nafs. You fight with people about eating halal, right? No, we're only supposed to eat halal. Well, the Sheikh said we get to say Bismillah over it because we in the land of the Christians, even if it's cooked by a Buddhist, right? So guess what? Now everybody goes to what's the chicken spot? Chick-fil-A? No, not Popeyes too though. You know, which I found out there's one and there's only one in Philly that actually serve halal food, that serve halal chicken.
That's crazy. Yeah. I know most of them at least 3 Popeyes.
Yeah, there's one around the corner from the mansion, but the brother that owned it, he doesn't serve halal there. Not that I know of.
A lot of people get confused because, now mind you, I did electrical work at like 9 Popeyes this guy owns. Mm-hmm. And you'll see the truck pull up and it'll say halal.
Right.
The chicken is being delivered to the truck. So people automatically think.
Well, no, because it comes from that farm.
First with the bull. And the bull said, ain't nothing here halal. The guy driving the truck, he said, we sell halal. We also sell non-halal. He said, ain't nothing.
Right, because they got the farm. Yeah.
Halal. That's what he told me.
Now let's follow up. No, the one in South Philly is. The one in South, you gotta go to South Philly, and they got some what? Don't they got some in Shire?
We're on Broad Street.
Popeyes?
Yeah, the one on Broad Street.
No.
Yeah. Huh?
Popeyes?
What y'all got? KFC, right?
Yeah, machine slaughter.
Oh, it's machine slaughter.
Yeah, it's
Oh
machine
man,
slaughter.
oh man. They had one in Brooklyn too.
Crescent is in Chicago.
Right.
They used to have, they used to do hand slaughter.
Right.
But the demand for chicken had got so high they had to switch over to machine slaughter.
Supply and demand. There you go. That's why I'm always suspect of people with chicken. Usually most places I don't eat chicken from.
Huh?
Because supply and demand. You know, it's the cheapest form of meat to buy out there anyway.
13. Yeah, 2013 they switched over.
Gotta get that money, baby.
Only know because when I had a restaurant, we used to get our supply from them.
Alright, so anyway, so the last part, he says, after understanding all of this, then you should know that the messengers brought the truth, and all that they informed about is true. From the punishment of the grave. Now, the difference between this book, Kifayyatu al Mutahidah, and Usool'd, right, is that in Usool'd, in other books of the Shehu, he goes into detail about the semiyat, meaning pertaining to the afterlife. And he goes into detail and he talks about the angels and so on and so forth. This book is kind of like a summary because the Shehu, he was an itinerary scholar. He would move from different places. He would teach people their obligations in some places. or how he established his Jamaat, if you ever study that, is that wherever he went, he taught the people their Fara'ain. He taught them about Iman, he taught them about Islam, he taught them about Ihsan. And the one who was the senior of the students of them, that's who he appointed as the Amir. And he would continue to teach, and teach it until it became strong, until people in that area, everyone knew their Fara'id. Then they would go and learn the sciences. That's how he established Jamaats. Jamaats wasn't established like, look, you gotta get big out of me and only me, and now you gotta accept me as the Grand Khalifa. No, that thing morphed into it because it was about the Deen, and people acknowledged it. When people acknowledge it, your level of knowledge and commitment and your resemblance of the Prophet ﷺ, think about it. I'm telling you, if you don't resemble the Prophet ﷺ in behavior, your family won't even respect you. They won't have no respect for you. You in there, you rap b-boy, cussing, smoking weed and everything, they will have no respect for you. But if you getting up, you praying to Hajj, right? Even the small things, and those things that you can control of doing from the Sunnah, then Allah will give you things that you ain't have no control over from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You'll find yourself doing things that the Prophet ﷺ did without effort. It had nothing to do with you, right? And so they acknowledge that. All of the scholars who were dedicated, because scholarship isn't just about being an armchair scholar, leaning on the chair, reading and writing and drinking tea, right? But the Shehu, he was a scholar. He was a warrior as well, right? They also fought. They also end up fighting jihad. They end up fighting, So these things, that scholarship, it morphs into something real. It doesn't just turn into, And today's situation, when you have somebody that is actually bringing you closer to the Prophet ﷺ, and this is why I don't really fault. I don't fault them. I don't agree with them. So I put that disclaimer there. I don't fault the Wahhabis for their loyalty to their ulama, because you do respect the person that is teaching you, and you're getting knowledge. Somebody's nourishing you, right? Now the knowledge may be wrong information. That's where they become blameworthy at. But however, they're doing what they can when a person. So the reality with the whole big thing, and this is the person that's shaking, that person ain't the shaking, he ain't learned nothing, and this person ain't learned this. When people get too much into the personality, they usually destroy the community that way, right? When the people are into the mission, you understand that person that's your leader, he's not infallible, right? He's not infallible. So what happens? If he committed a particular sin, as long as he ain't doing kufr and things like that, you'll be able to rock the boat with him. You begin to know the person. You spend time. Islam is a communal deen. It's not a deen of a individual, right? That's a religion. Most people try not to be connected to nobody, and they try to do their own thing. It's a communal religion. You begin to learn your brother's temperament. My brother, he might be having a bad day, and he's acting a certain way towards his brother. I might know the reality of it. I have the ability to say, chill, just ease up on him, man. Brother, he's going through something right now, But guess what? They'll be back together in the next prayer to pray together. They'll be at the next class to be at the class together. So guess what? When they serving food, you want to throw them off? Here you go. I give you your plate. Man, I ain't even like you about 10 minutes ago. Mashallah. Right? It's all kiss and hug. Right? Think about it. Think of the reality. The same way you have a relationship between husband and wife. You could be mad at your wife, but as time goes on, guess what? Say you got that kind of relationship, you and your wife is best friends, right? Y'all buddy, BFF for life, right? Right? And you used to talking to her every day. You got the same routine. You wake up at the same time every morning. She got your coffee brewing for you, and you kicking it with her, and and joking with her and everything like that. And then you wake up, you got mad with her about something. You wake up the next morning, and you want to say something to her, but you're mad. You're trying to maintain your anger. And you don't feel right going out the door. Your day is ruined. You ain't trying to say it though, but your day is all thrown off. Now you're like, man, me and my wife beefing, man. Let me call my brother. That's usually when brothers call each other. Hey, Sheikh, man, what's going on? You beefing with your wife again, huh? Nah, man, I was trying to come out anyway, man. What's going on with you? Like, yeah, all right. Then he hangs around real late. You notice he don't want to go home after Isha. He's like, man, we trying to go home, man. What you doing? I was just going to hang out with y'all. Man, go home, man. Right? No, he don't want to go home. Why? Yeah, me and Fatima beefing again. You're like, man, go home, man. Do something nice for her. Bring her home a Reese cup. It'll throw her all the way off, right? These type of things. What do you think about the same relationship you got with your brothers in the masjid? the more you stay away from praying with your brothers, it's easy to hold a grudge. When y'all praying together, it's hard to hold a grudge to your brother. It's impossible, right? Especially if he ain't do anything that really violated the Sharia like that. So he says, after understanding all of this, they understand this and the truth about the truth that they brought, and they all informed about is the truth from the punishment in the graves and its torment, the day of judgment, its torments, the sirat, right? We talked about the bridge earlier, the scale, and all of those particular issues that's pertaining to paradise and hellfire, which are all our creation of the Creator, right? All of these things that's mentioned, it all goes back to the ilahiyat. All of them is part of creation, right? Right? And paradise doesn't come to an end, nor does hellfire come to an end, despite of what Shehu Islam said, right? It doesn't come to an end. You know, that's one of his beliefs too. He believe that hellfire comes to an end. All right. So, but however, these things are part of creation as well. He said that, and he said also that the believers, they will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah will speak to them, right? Now, if you don't have the proper belief, this is why learning that Allah ta'ala is different from creation, that he exists without a beginning, he exists without an ending. All of these are important because if you didn't have these, then you'll have improper aqidah. You'd be like, man, so we're going to see Allah, where he going to be at? Is he going to be sitting on the throne? Is his feet going to be on the footstool? I don't even want to do that. But you get my point. You will start thinking of creation. But rather what the Muslim does is we embrace all of it, accept all of it, and we don't put any interpretation to it. That's the safe route. And if there is going to be any discussion about it, it's going to be a discussion with limitation and the things that will only be fitting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, and so then he says, the issues that have been elaborated upon in the Quran and the Sunnah, and the intellectual proof for all of the above, is that all of the above is possible. And as for the proof that Allah Ta'ala informed us that it will take place. In the conclusion, because you got to remember, all of these events that we know about the afterlife, we only know them by means of the Quran and from the Prophet ﷺ. This is why it's very important for the Prophet ﷺ, all of the messengers and prophets, but we talk about our Rasulullah ﷺ in particularly, to be truthful, trustworthy, right? Beloved, he completed the message. What was the message? About the belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's amazing how the book is formatted. The messages are in the middle, and at the ending is what? About the samiyat, about those things that the messengers tell you about. Right? You see how all of it just falls, it just falls all together. This is the beauty of Ahl Sunnah. He said in conclusion, and this is what the Sheikh he usually goes off on a lot of people. He said, it is not befitting for any man to be seen except while doing something good for his or her hereafter, or earning his living for his livelihood. And this is why, tell brothers, especially, within our community, listen, just focus on learning your Fardu Ayn and earning a livelihood, right? Learn those things that you need to learn. Don't worry about the Syrian government and why they coming down over it. Only thing that you need to be concerned about with Syria is when the arrival of Isa ibn Maryam. Only thing you need to worry about politics of Mecca and Medina, the Hijaz, is when is the announcement for the Mahdi arrival, right? All that other stuff, I don't care about King Fahd, I don't care about them doing his Mawlid and all, I don't care about none of that stuff no more. Because it ain't really helping me do anything. All it is just fowler, it's just confusion. And it's just adding, and I'm just arguing and fighting with everybody. See, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, people are being taught. There's books. I just seen a book a couple days ago. I was in one of the Islamic stores. When I go to the stores, I always scan through all the books that's there that I see that I never seen before. And so this new book is, what is the ruling on the people who speak bad against the rulers? They already programmed in your mind that the book is actually written for Islamic politics in the kingdom, in Saudi, because there's a lot of fitna going on over there. The Saudi, the regime, the monarchy regime is changing. They're embracing a lot of Western things. Didn't Cardi B have a concert over there?
Yeah, a boxing match.
Boxing matches, all kinds of stuff is happening now. They probably gonna have casinos in Riyadh already. They used to have them underground, for what I understood, right? So all those things are happening, and so then now their scholars are writing these books. It's for them. Can't speak bad against the rulers. So then we read the books of the scholars who's speaking out against the rulers, And then what do we say? Oh, they're not following the hakimiyya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their rulers are kafirs and so on and so forth. And now here you are over here in the United States, in Camden, in Philadelphia, arguing about the rulership over in Saudi. It ain't really our business. The only business we got in Saudi is Hajj and Umrah, right? But people are dividing themselves. We don't take from them that the Hizbiyya, the Ikhwani Muslimin, the Hizbul Tahrir, and all these different deviant groups. This is how they keep dividing us, right? We're not dividing based off of real principles. I mean, there's problems there. It could split us. But we're not dividing off of that. We're dividing off of some book somebody wrote that was meant for another audience. So anyway, so he says that the man and the woman should be concerned about their hereafter and earning a livelihood. And he should also leave that which does not concern him and stop where he doesn't understand. And when in company with the scholar, he should treat him with respect and silently listen when he's talking. And then he ends, he says, praise be to Allah Ta'ala who guided us to this, and we were never guided, we would have never to been guided if it had not been for his guidance. O Allah, send prayers and blessings upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the predecessors, and send the peace to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his generation to come, and send your blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family, his companion, the children, wives, offspring, the people in his household, even the people from amongst the Ansar, and those who love him, and to his ummah, and us all with them. O Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He says, Yarhamu. Show mercy, and all praises be to Allah Ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds, and Allah Ta'ala, peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and companions. Ameen. So that's the end of that. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I'm working on putting out the translation of this. Actually, what I was reading from was from what I translated of the book. I'll give it to you now. Everybody that's here. Matter of fact, if y'all give me your names. What I'm planning on doing on the website, I'm about to create what they call like a tabakat, like almost like an encyclopedia, like the account, all the people that I taught. I ain't even worried about what anybody else doing. All the people I taught, y'all call me fake Sheikh. A lot of people don't like me. I got a lot of detractors. I don't care, right? And we create this tabakat. If you learn something from me, a particular book, your name is going to be under there. Why? Because we're passing down that legacy, that lineage of Sheikh Uthman and Fodiyo, which gives us a connecting chain. Because many people are teaching us, but they're not giving us a chain. They're not giving us that connection. They'll teach us these books, and then they say, you're not knowledgeable enough to teach it yet. And I can understand that if you had a test or something like that, knew the person personally, okay, I can understand that. But people, they do, like when they do recitation of hadith, right? You have diraya, and you have riwayah, okay? Your riwayah is the person's narrating, to preserve the chain. So everyone that's in earshot, what's the youngest age that a person can get riwayah of a hadith, have the ability to narrate hadith? What's the youngest age? Anybody know?
18?
Nope. Nope, younger than that.
Oh, 7.
Nope, younger than that.
5?
5. If they hear it, understand it, they can narrate it. But here we are in the Western lands, brothers that narrate books, Bukhari and everything else to us, and then tell us you don't know anything. So that's what's important. So I give a general permission for people to narrate that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To narrate the book Kifayyatu al Mutahidah, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Is there any comments or questions? Y'all gonna pass out food now? And I can answer questions while we eat. Any comments or questions? If you want, you can stop the recording.